that goes on in this industry, especially as engineering students, especially at this time of the year, right? And I get it. There's a lot that goes on, especially in our heads, right? So I just want to kind of run through some things, especially since you guys are savages, you guys are like here to win, you guys want to form when you guys want a better life, right? I need to remind you guys to actually, I'm going to pull this up. I wasn't going to pull this up. I was going to pull up our core values. I want you guys to write these down. Where are we at here? Okay, cool. So you guys are going to write these down. And then a challenge I have for you guys, I'll give you guys like 2 minutes to think about it, but like do it after the phone or do it after our call here. I want you guys to like write down what this means for you and how you plan on addressing it for the week or what you plan on doing that relates to it for the week, right? So FormAWin core values, okay? The FormAWin core values are relentless execution, okay? That's number one. Number two, extreme ownership. Number three, uncompromising integrity. Number four, adapt, overcome, dominate. Number five, the relentless standard. Six, build, serve, impact. Number seven, family and team. I'm gonna go ahead. I'll copy that in the chat here if I can. Yeah, you guys got it. There we go. Look at that. Right. All right. So, well, don't worry about that last part. Get rid of that. There we go. Cool. Okay, so those are the core values, right? And then for who just joined, welcome, welcome. I want you guys to kind of write those down and then write one thing you're going to be doing this week that pertains to them. I'm going to go over them really quick, but then we're going to get into the actual stuff I want to talk about. But these, again, these are core values for FormAWin. We don't let everyone in this program. I actually had to turn away a lot of people, right? So I just like I want you guys to think about that too. There's a bigger purpose to FormAWin than just getting your first job and then excelling in your internship, right? A few of us are stepping into that season. A few of us are almost there. A few of us are still getting there. But, it doesn't change with what we do. It doesn't change with how we act. So relentless execution. Everything that we do is going to be relentlessly executed, right? If we're going to go to the grocery store, we're going to do everything in superb detail. We're going to talk with people. We're going to put everyone around us in a good mood. We're not going to just stick our headphones on in the grocery store and then walk around like we don't care or we're not present in life, right? I mean, that's just one example of something that popped in my head. Extreme ownership. We take ownership of everything, right? If something doesn't go our way, we don't point our fingers and blame other people or say, oh, you said this or you said that or this and that, right? No, like we start looking within ourselves. If it is actually someone's fault and there's proof, cool, but we don't need to like deliberately like push that so crazily. Like it should be apparent, right? We should always look first within ourselves and take ownership over everything. Uncompromising integrity. Those two kind of relate, but in the integrity part, again, what integrity means is what you do when no one else is watching, right? So for uncompromising integrity, what are you doing when no one's watching? What are you doing when you're going week to week? What are you doing when you go outside? What are you doing at the grocery store, right? All those things matter. Are you putting your shopping cart back? Are you picking up trash? All those things relate to one another, and all those things relate to you getting a job because how you do one thing is how you do everything. Adapt, overcome, dominate. So this is the big thing too, right? No matter what we're doing in different seasons, it's going to take us different actions to get different results. I'm going to bring this up at one of the later points in the list I want to go through here. I got 7 points for you guys, but adapt, overcome, dominate. This is kind of like a little bit of a sidebar, but just how we were always talking about, career fairs and different places where people might have bad breath, right? And then gum, right? To like make sure you don't have bad breath. The one thing I wanted to focus on here is if you kind of go like this is a super simple mindset, right? But if you go in and someone tells you that you should like probably have good breath, right? And then you do that and you choose to not have gum or you choose to not take that action, right? You're not coachable. Now that's a really basic example that's obvious to all of us, right? But this can apply to something else that might not be as apparent, right? So if someone says to do something and you don't try it or even think about it or don't attempt it, that just shows you're uncoachable, right? Where maybe we need to try the new experience, the new information, get around new people, do that new thing to get a new result that we haven't gotten yet, right? Because again, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing that we've been doing and expecting a different result, right? Or focusing on the same thing we were focusing on before and expecting a different result, right? We need to get around new people, new information, new experiences, and we need to learn things and try new things and do things that are uncomfortable, right? That's going to progress us forward. That's going to get us from point A to point B. That's really what sets us apart. So adapt, overcome, dominate for the core value. That's what that means. So that might mean doing something different this week. That might mean getting out of your comfort zone this week. That might mean going out to Starbucks and talking to some random people saying, hey, I just want to network. What's up? Right? Because that's awkward. Is it? Or is it not? Or are you comfortable with it because you've done it? Right? So that's just one example. But next is the relentless standard, right? So this just means kind of the execution. The execution is what we do. Relentless execution is what we do on a day-to-day basis. Relentless execution is what we do in our tasks. But the relentless standard is the standard that we hold with ourselves, right? What do we hold with ourselves? And this will kind of transition into one of the points I want to talk about in terms of who we want to be. But what standard do we hold ourselves at, right? Do we hold ourselves at a high standard? Do we hold ourselves at a low standard? We need to hold ourselves at a high standard so that everyone around us, not that they need to have lower standards, but again, we're trying to be leaders. We're trying to be different. We're trying to be extravagant. We're trying to be unique. We're trying to form a win, right? So we need to raise our standards. So what are those standards for you? Build, serve, impact. Everywhere you go, everywhere you talk, every club you go to, just every experience, every interaction you have, build, serve, impact. You need to have a positive impact everywhere you go. You need to leave wherever you go better than when you came to it. That's going to make an impact, right? Serving, building, all that stuff relates to one another too. Family, team. How often do you call your family? How great of a team member are you? How you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So all those things relate to one another. Write those down, take those to heart. But let's go ahead and get into these bullet points. So I labeled this the talk. No, I want to come up with a better title, but I'm just going to call it the talk for now. So we got 7 points for you guys, right? So point number one is going to be mindset. So we'll transition here, but let me know if you have questions in the chat. Pull that up here. And then if you guys do have any urgent questions, make sure you just drop it in the chat because we might run kind of close to 8. So if we do, I just want to make sure I allow like a few minutes to answer anything. So if you guys have anything urgent, drop it in. I got you. But listen, guys, this is the talk today. This is the talk, right? All about positive attitude, all about winning, all about all this stuff. But do we, and then I'll take silence as consent, but do I have permission to be honest with you guys?
Yes.
Okay, Christian, there he is. Love it. So number one is going to be mindset. Who do you want to be? What life do you want to live? Right? This is going to pertain to some of us struggling, some of us that are having some success, right? When we started getting some success, did we start dropping some things that got us there? Did we do that? Or if we're struggling to get to where we want to be, are we staying consistent with the things that we know that we should be doing, right? All this stuff adds up to the core values, by the way, which is why I wanted to start with that, I guess. All of these points, all of the things we do, all of the engineering work we do, right? Because we don't talk a lot of technical stuff here, but the technical stuff all comes down to people engineering and the communication styles we use, right? So all of that is going to be based off of you and the standards you hold with yourself. Because if you go to have a technical talk, like let's just say you're talking about coding, you're talking about software, how things are working together and how you're trying to figure out a project solution, right? And you go there and you talk with everyone, but then like their home lives and everything outside of work and outside of the technical stuff is all in shambles, right? How are you going to go to that technical talk and be ready for action? Right? Because like that's such a big thing. Because if you're not ready to kind of bring your best self and bring your best mindset and your best awareness, then you're not going to be able to figure out a next innovative solution, right? Because I'm sure a lot of the top leaders to get to that point, you need to have that stuff kind of in order or at least progressed, right? Because if it's not, then you're just not going to get there because you don't have a good system. You don't have a good foundation. Foundation of our lives, like a house, the foundation of our lives is all of this stuff we're going through mindset, people engineering, all these daily tasks, right? So, kind of bringing this back to the success thing, right? If you guys have had success, have you guys kind of dropped and think and thought, well, I got an internship, I'm doing really good. Let me just kind of like, chill a little bit because I can, right? Like that's not how we got to get an internship. That's not how we got there in the first place, right? So if you're working and you got one and then you drop some stuff, like that's not the life you want to live, right? Because we agreed to get the internship or to get to where we want to get to, whatever goal it is, maybe a research position, whatever it is, right? We agreed that we have to level up and change to get there. We have to form a win. That's why you're here to grow, right? So if we drop some things that we used to do to get to where we got to, then that's just not adding up, right? So hopefully you guys get that, right? But if you're struggling, right, who do you want to be? Like maybe this is just a different perspective because maybe it's something where the first thing I was saying with the gum example, that's where this kind of comes into place. Like are you kind of taking things? Are you learning new information? Are you going out, being creative, being obsessed? Are you obsessed about everything, or is something missing? Or is it a basic thing, right? That gum thing. That's easy for us to understand. But if there's something in your life, right? Draw a circle like everything in your life that you think it could be, or just label out everything you do like every 5 minutes for the day, right? And then I guarantee you find one thing that you're not even thinking about that's affecting you, right? Because if you go to these career fairs like with the gum, right, and you don't know, you don't know, no one tells you, right? Just like if you have a booger in your nose and then no one tells you about it, I mean, you just don't know. You just don't know what you don't know. And the only way you're going to know new information is by getting around new people, new experiences, like we just said. And same thing here. That's where you kind of check in with me. We talk with our community here, the school community. I want to see all you guys active in there because it's super important, especially as we go through these challenges, these new projects, this exam season, this final season, post spring break, all of this, like all of our lives, like all of this stuff that we're building up to, we need to kind of run by each other and make sure we're building each other up. Because that's the goal here. The goal is not to just say students, interns, and then full-time engineering, and it's like that's it. And then we hit our goals, and that's it. We say in engineering, and then we go just work forever, and then that's it. But like that's not the goal. The goal is to level up and bring value into our lives and other lives and our core values, right? So that's a little bit about the mindset. I just want you guys to make sure you're adapting that and thinking about that long term. And then, in terms of FormAWin, there's always going to be new opportunities available as well. This is kind of a little bit of a sidebar, but just taking FormAWin, right? Once you guys get your positions, once you guys level up, you guys are more than welcome to leave, obviously, right? But with FormAWin, the goal here is for you guys to get your first position, level up in your internship, guarantee some promotions, do great in your first time job, then grow, and then there might be postgraduate opportunities available to you, right? And just like Mary, just like some other people, that's kind of what this is about as well. So just keep that in mind as well, because if you guys are going through, you guys are taking all the action, you guys are growing, you guys are learning, you guys are developing, all that's going to shape you into who you want to be and who you need to be, and then new opportunities are going to unlock. But number two is going to be the little things. So we just talked about number one being mindset, right? So hope you guys got a lot out of that, took some notes. But number two is going to be the little things. So now, daily actions compound over time. It's that simple, right? If you got one interview in the last 3 months and it took you 100 applications to get that one interview, you need to be doing that 100 applications. It just depends. If you do 100 applications a day, then that equates to 7 interviews based off of that statistic, right? So we need to track that. If you had 400 applications and you got one interview, maybe we look at that and say, okay, maybe we need to refine our approach a little bit, right? Just a little bit. But we can't get too convoluted in all the extras and all the things that we think might be impacting it. We have to go based off of what's worked. So if we've gone interviews in the past, how have we gone those interviews? Did we network with people? Have we gone to networking events? And that led to great success, right? If you go to one networking event and you're like, okay, out of every networking event I go to, I can hop on a call with someone and it typically leads to an interview, right? I say, okay, great. So why aren't we going to one a day? Right? I mean, that's just like a little thing that can compound. And then same thing with applications, right? If you do X and you get Y result and you're happy with that Y result, just keep repeating X. Why would you stop doing it? That's just a big thing, right? And the little things here too. A common theme here is going to be like that gum example, but one experience isn't the end all be all for learning new things, right? Let's just say you work in a project, and we've all worked in engineering projects before in our clubs, in our schools, right? All this stuff. And we've had some projects where we've enjoyed the group, and we've had some projects where we didn't enjoy the group, right? That doesn't mean that we're going to just always work with bad groups, right? That could just be the one group that we're working with for that time being, obviously, because we've all had good experiences, we've all had bad experiences, probably more bad than good, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that all the projects are bad, right? So if we take that into consideration and we apply that to all areas of our life, if we had one application and we're saying, okay, it's not good because of my resume or this, and that, that doesn't mean your resume is horrible and you need to stop applying and you need to like kind of cut everything out, right? But this can apply to different situations too. That's where I'm saying, like, if you write down every 5 minutes what you do in a day, you might find one thing that you need to kind of take out that you're not really thinking about or you're not present about. Or if you have someone review that schedule, then someone else might pinpoint and say, hey, why are you doing this? Like, that doesn't make sense. That's probably holding you back, right? So that's how you kind of grow and develop. But with that said, one experience doesn't mean it's bad. If you worked with a company, right, and it was a super bad experience and you had a bad manager, that doesn't mean the company is bad. That doesn't mean that engineering is bad. That doesn't mean the workplace is bad. It could have just been that one place, right? Because for me, for example, this actually happened in engineering and outside of engineering. I'll give you both examples. I worked at a restaurant, right? I've worked at a few restaurants, but the one restaurant I worked at, the manager was like a little psycho crazy, right? I don't know what the situation was. It was kind of wild. I like they might have been out of something. I don't remember exactly because I was just sitting there like grinding, just running around working, and then I just see them yelling, going crazy. Then like he threw a plate and like it accidentally hit me, right? So I was like, okay, so I mean, I already knew this guy was like a little psycho. So that's one situation. Then I had a few other situations with restaurants that it's like just the best experience ever, right? With engineering at the same company too, right? I had a bad manager who didn't care about his employees at all. And then I had great managers that cared so much. You know, it's just one experience doesn't mean that that's it. So you can't base everything off of that. You need to kind of get statistical data, right? So with applications, right? If you apply to 1,000 jobs and you don't get anything back, nothing, maybe we look at that, right? If you apply to 5 jobs and you're like, this isn't working, I'm like, all right, like we just didn't even try yet, right? And then that's like saying, with the gym too. Like, let's just say we go to the gym. It's like, okay, I tried working out for 2 days and nothing happened. It's like, all right, like we didn't try yet. So same thing, right? The little things compound over time, but we need to give it time to compound. If we skip out on it or we kind of slack a little bit or we don't really stay focused a little bit, then that's when it loses and it doesn't compound. It's very simple. Just like a stock too, just like one last thing with that. We're kind of going over at this point. We got 5 other points to go through. Let's just take a stock, right? If you're investing in stocks and then you keep adding the dividends that it yields, right? And then it keeps growing and growing. But like if you just take out every month and just like keep it at then it doesn't compound, right? Same thing with everything we do in life. All of these win checks, everything that we do, all of this stuff compounds, right? So that's it for that. Number three. Now, this is a little tactical actually. So this is a little bit unique. So you guys can all do this too. For those of you that are stepping into some new opportunities, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing this. Or if we're kind of working a networking strategy that's developing and growing, right? Maybe we just keep that in place. But this is something unique you could do. So plant tours, right? Networking events. So you can call some of the local places. Some places, I mean, if it's an hour, 2 hour drive out, still call. You can still go. I would call them search engineering firms, research labs, manufacturing plants, just anything that's like near you, and then find their numbers and get them on the phone. Call them, say, hey, I'd love to go on a tour. I see what you guys are doing. This is really what I'm about. I'd love to tour your facility. Typically, they might let you come in, right? Because you're not asking for an interview, you're not asking for a job. This is a good way that you can kind of break into it. And again, this is point number three, plant tours. And then what you do once you're there is build rapport, right? One of our students, Dylan, I don't think he's on the phone here. Dylan and Christian, you guys both went to a Mitsubishi plant tour, right? So like this is a perfect example. You go to the tour, you build rapport, and then you kind of broach topics about the internships once you get to that point, or once you kind of have a contact and you can keep following up, right? So that's how you can build a connection easily and get that in-person face-to-face. And then that gives you some good experiences as well. That might give you some good LinkedIn content, take some pictures, document things. Then you're showing your network, others around you that you're really staying active and growing in the industry. Super important. So that number three, plant tours, that's just one unique way that you can go about it. Some of you I have like this is a really good tactic. And I used to do this too. Like this was great. And this kind of led me to my first internship before I kind of accepted a different offer. But calling like the top 500 or the top Fortune 500 companies, because you can just go to their website, find numbers, find emails, contact people, spam it, hit it 24 hours a day. And then if you're sending an email every 10 minutes, right? You know what I mean? Like you go to a website, you find people, email, you're going to find an opportunity, right? It's just about doing the work, putting the time in, but then also prepping yourself for that opportunity and making sure you're available for that. Because if you go to these plant tours, for example, just bringing them back to point number three, and you go there and you're like in a depressed state or you're stressed and you go there and you're like, hey, how's it going? Yep. Right. Like, I mean, no one's going to want to talk to you. So that's why practice is super important as well, which goes into point number four, which is how many events are you going to? So this is point number four. I'll actually type this in chat so you guys can keep track if you guys are missing anything. So number one is mindset. Number two is going to be what we got here. Little things. Three is going to be plant tours. And I got to kind of speed this up a little bit. Then again, let me know if you have questions so I make sure that I save time for you guys. And then how many events are you going to? So again, I can't, I'm pretty sure I gave you guys an announcement like for success, troubles, doubts, everything. How many events are you going to? Treat your life like a business, right? If you're a top engineering firm, okay, let's just say you're designing a product, right? How many customers are you reaching out to? If you're designing a turbine engine or something like just like how many people are you reaching out to? How many places are you going? So, like you need to think of your life as a business, right? Because there's a marketing team, there's a development team, there's a research team, there's an admin team, all of these things, right? Just look up how a business operates and then start thinking of it as, okay, I'm on my engineering journey and I need to treat it like a business because that's what's going to yield the result. because a business has a result to like do something, right? So you also have a result to do something, whether that's being the best in the internship or getting your first job. So reverse engineer it, break it down, and kind of pinpoint some of those things. That's another exercise you guys can do. Just make it okay. My name is Michael. Boom. I want to get this job. Okay, reverse engineer. Okay, I need my admin team, got my sales marketing. Boom, 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 boom. What's it going to take to get from point A to point B, right? And all this stuff can be you. You don't need a team to do this. This is you. But at the same time, we have a community. We have the school community. People are like Trey's like posting in there like a lot of like different events and stuff. So if you guys post things too, we work together. That's how we start developing, and then that's where the team aspect comes in too, right? All of this stuff, training, developing. That's what these calls are for. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to help you with. Running things by me, coaching. This is what it's all about, treating your life like a business. How many reach outs are you doing? Are you obsessed about this? Are you wanting to make this a priority? Are we saying, okay, I need to get this engineering job now? I'm going out to 20 networking events all the time. I'm going crazy. I'm making this happen, but I'm also going to like pace myself, obviously, right? Like I'm not going to just sacrifice things and drop my relentless standard, which also includes family life, including important things, including working out, including all this stuff that is super important to me, right? We need to uphold everything. It's not about going crazy saying, okay, I'm not going to sleep, because that's when you burn out. That's when things start failing. That's when you don't get the results you're looking for. But the point here, how many events are you going to? This makes for practice too. When you guys are going to go talk to people, if you go to more events, you're going to have more practice talking to people. So then when you talk to someone who's really important, you're going to be ready to receive the opportunity and talk to them effectively, right? So that's number 4. Number 5 here is going to be your expectations. Number 5 is going to be your expectations. So are you very, I mean, we talked about this a little bit throughout some of the stuff, but are you kind of looking for the path of least resistance, or are you trying to challenge yourself and go out and do different things? Are you looking at it like, okay, I don't know if I want to kind of do all this. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe I shouldn't reach out to these people. Maybe I should slow it down a little bit. Maybe I should just focus on studying, kind of taking my time. And then, at the end of the semester, maybe I can like do a little bit more. I mean, there's some easy applications. I don't know. Or are you saying like, okay, I got XYZ time in the day. Okay. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to wake up a little bit earlier. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do this. I'm going to network. Okay. Right. Or are you just looking for the path of least resistance? And that could just be being obsessed with, reviewing some of the basic stuff. And like I went through this with all of you, I'm pretty sure, how some of the basic stuff, a resume, like LinkedIn, cover letter, like all that stuff, right? All that stuff is the basic stuff. Once we get it to a certain point, it should be good. And that's it. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but we need to focus on the other stuff, which is the game plan we went through, the win checks, all of the networking, all of the connecting, all of the being obsessed, all of the, okay, like what's next for us, right? Because I want you guys to constantly be thinking ahead too in these engineering positions. And that's why FormAWin is great for you guys too. If you guys talk about this in interviews, because you guys can say like you personally invested in yourself. And that's huge, because students aren't doing that outside of saying, oh yeah, I joined a club and that's personally investing, right? And that's cool because you need to be doing that, obviously, but that's not this level of it. This is like taking it to a new level because you want more out of life and you want to grow and you want to develop. And there's just like a different level to it when you start talking about this stuff. But the only way you can talk about it and it be meaningful is if you are obsessed about it, right? So if you're constantly thinking about personal development, growing into this, going on LinkedIn, looking for events, posting, I mean, in the school community too, that's how I can tell as well, right? I mean, like that's just one way you can do it too. Then it helps everyone. Then everyone can go to the same stuff and get something different out of it. So like that's super important as well, or virtual stuff. So growing, but the path of least resistance, right? Are you approaching things from that gun perspective where you're going in expecting what you already think you know? And we've already established to get a new result and a new desire, we need to get new information, new people, new experiences. And the only way to figure out what we don't know is by getting around other people that know something else, right? And we're not going to know how that works because we haven't done it before. So we need to just kind of lean into that uncomfortable state of saying, okay, maybe I need to try something a little bit different, right? That's what this point is about. Your expectations. What are you expecting? Maybe we need to change that. Maybe you're stuck with thinking, okay, this is how the world operates, right? All this stuff down here, not going to career fairs with gum, right? Maybe that's how the world operates versus, okay, I want to get over here, but I'm kind of stuck thinking like, well, I haven't been there and, my thoughts that I have, right? So maybe I need to get some new thoughts and change a few things. So that's how you level up. Okay, guys. So that's number 5. That's the biggest one. And then we'll kind of speed these up here a little bit. I thought this would go quicker. I didn't think this was going to take all the time. But number 6 is going to be risk taker. Are you taking risks? And then I'll just chalk this up to an example, right? For me, the risk when I was going through all this was I was trying to make ends meet, back when I was kind of in my last year or so of college, I guess. I was working as an intern for Lockheed, right? And then I also went out. I was trying to find new positions. I was working at a restaurant at the time, but then I hurt my back, so I couldn't do that anymore, right? So I still needed some income to make this stuff work. So I figured it out, right? I did some ship deliveries for about like 5 weeks or something like that. That helped a lot. That worked great. And then, that whole time I was still applying. I was doing my school projects. I was applying for full-time jobs too. Like I was going crazy. I was the definition of being obsessed. But then I happened to just find a Siemens Energy contracting position, which was a I was a contractor for Lockheed, right? So I wasn't a direct employee. So I was then looking at that saying, okay, I can be a contractor for Siemens, right? As long as I clear it, then I'll be good. But there was like some risk involved because I didn't want my managers or anyone thinking I'm overworking myself because that's what everyone's obsessed about in this world, like overworking yourself, not having balance, right? But we need to be the opposite. We need to say, no, I want this life. I want to be a leader. I want this pressure because that's what's going to make me change. That's what's going to make me different than everyone else. And that's what's going to drive true results, right? So that's my mindset. But sometimes we can't be upfront and direct with that with everyone. Because if we go talk to our manager, like let's just say we go to an interview and then we go tell them like, hey, yeah, I want to build this big giant life for myself, and then they're sitting there and they don't have a big giant life, right? Because all of us on this call want a nice life, want a big life, right? But at the same time, not everyone is ready to understand that in full complexity. So for this, the risk here was kind of taking on too much and then people thinking I'm doing too much and then not giving me the priority, right? But what wound up happening here is I took both positions. I had both positions, right? And then it wound up being that I applied to a full-time position. And then that manager knew my manager who reached out and said, hey, how is he doing both? Right. So that was kind of like risky because it's like, okay, well, and then they came back, they were like, yeah, you need to submit a conflict of interest. I don't know about all this, blah, 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 blah. I was like, but like I got it cleared, so it should be okay. And they were like, yeah, okay, but you still got to do it, right? And then like right after they came back with an offer, and that's how I got my offer. Okay. So that was a risk that kind of put it against the wall, put my back against the wall, and like just made the stuff happen. That's just one example, right? But you guys need to take risks. You guys need to do things a little bit different than the norm to get different results than the norm. So that's just food for thought for that one. I know we're running over here. So the last one that I'll say here, that this time of year is when people fall off. This time of year. This is the time when people fall off. It's about to be final season. It's about to be XYZ season, finishing projects, going crazy, doing all this stuff. About to start an internship. This is a period that you can like slow down and take it easy, right? Because it's easy to. The path of least resistance. I already did a lot of work. Okay, why don't we just like kind of focus up on all this stuff, right? Instead of doubling down and saying like, okay, you know, if I'm treating my life as a business, businesses don't just slow down. They don't just say, okay, well, for the next 2 months, I'm going to just kind of chill, let it ride, let it cruise. No, they're constantly trying to level up and develop, right? That's what it's about. So I just want you guys to kind of put that into perspective with the core values too. Again, that doesn't mean dropping the standards. That doesn't mean doing bad on exams. That doesn't mean lowering everything. That just means staying sharp, staying consistent, focusing on your win checks, and battling every day to develop the life that you want for yourself. And that's what FormAWin is about. I love you guys. Hope you guys got a lot out of this. Took a lot of notes. Keep crushing it. I'm proud of each and every single one of you, no matter what. Keep working hard and message me, guys. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good day. Happy
Take care,
Sunday.
brother.